Hey, everybody. We're back here for the Pierce Dispatch, episode number 3. We're here to talk about pumpers with none other than Aaron Zock. Aaron, what's going
Hey,
on?
Dan, thanks for the welcome.
Aaron, tell me a little bit about yourself. So, what do you do here at Pierce?
So here at Pierce, so I'm actually our lead fire suppression product specialist. So kind of deal with all our suppliers that dabble in the suppression industry, as well as a little bit of business development on that side.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah,
That's a big, heavy title.
it's a fun and exciting role.
So, what's that look like? Tell me, like, day to day. What's that look like for you?
So a lot of it, obviously dealing with our suppliers, taking in what they have new, what new stuff we want to put on our apparatus, as well as support for our sales rep customers, all that stuff. If they have any questions,
So, like, on the customer side, what are your interactions there?
if they have questions, I mean, when it comes down to foam systems, fire pumps, primers, I mean, you name it, they have questions on everything. They don't remember what
Yeah.
they ordered a couple years ago when they put the truck in, and now you
Yeah.
got
So, I mean, are you like approval visits? You're in the room with the customer? Are you on the blue floor on finals? Like, what are your interactions like
everything,
there?
from approval visits, you're answering questions from sales reps, things like that, and then next thing you know, you're on the blue floor and you're trying to explain something that pickup and how it functions, to be honest with you.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, no, it's very diverse.
Cool. That's cool. So tell me a little background on you. So you're on a local fire department, is that
Yeah,
right?
yep. So I'm on the Greenville Fire Department. So it actually, a lot of our customers fly into Appleton International. What they don't know, it falls in the town of Greenville. So it's actually the village of Greenville. Sorry,
There you
village of
go.
Greenville.
Hey, I'm from the
Yep,
Ville.
yep.
Yeah, I'm from the village of
So
Greenville.
village of Greenville. So I've been volunteering since I've been in high school. So it's
Cool.
coming up on, I think, almost 13 years.
Yeah, and it's
So,
in your blood, right? I
yeah.
mean, it's family's all in the industry and all
Yeah.
that.
So my grandpa was a volunteer firefighter. My dad still is. So my brother did it. Cousins, uncles, everything. So it's, like I say, it kind of runs in the blood.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool. So like I know you got this big heavy title that you got here that's super complex on everything that you do here. How do you explain to your kids what you do at Pierce?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Every time we drive past the fire station, my daughter thinks we work at the fire station.
Sure.
So I got to explain to her. I said, no, we build those fire trucks, and then we bring her past here. So it's basically, I tell her we're working at a big candy store of fire trucks. That's the
awesome.
best way to describe it.
See, my kids, like I told them that they all think, you work at Pierce, you build fire
Mhm.
trucks. I don't have the heart to tell them that I don't physically build
Yep.
them. So for the longest time, I told them that I picked them up so that people could build underneath them.
Okay.
And so I was at a trade show and they had, it was in South Carolina. They had a truck up on lifts, like as part of the demonstration. So I just took a picture from the right
You're
angle,
holding it up.
like I'm holding
Yep.
it up. And so eventually they're going to find out that their dad's just a fraud. But in the meantime, obviously makes it quite a
Oh
bit
yes,
fun.
yeah. Nope. She loves every time we drive by on 41 now, and she for sure points it out.
Yeah,
Yep.
she does.
Oh
It
yes.
is something. And it does give you an idea. Like I grew up in the area, had no idea how many trucks are coming out of Appleton every year. You just never knew.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's why. I mean, and I should have known they're all painted different colors, driving all around, the city and the local communities, and that they're not all Appleton's fire truck.
Well, that's
but,
very true. You don't grasp reality until you really
Yeah.
work here on how much we put out. So
Yeah, totally wild. Okay, well, let me get into some of these nitty gritty questions with you about that. Obviously, I could talk about my kids all day, but the part of this too, obviously, around these pumpers. So when someone comes in and they're going to get a pumper, what decision have they already considered? I mean, you could obviously get an aerial,
Mhm.
a tanker, whatever that is. Why a pumper?
So I mean, pumpers, that's what's going to put the fire out essentially. So when they come in, they know they need something to get to a scene and put water on a fire.
Yeah,
That's what they need.
that's it.
Yeah, that's that's kind of the nitty gritty of what a pumper does. Nothing
Perfect.
flashy about it, but
Yeah, so I mean, like to the flashy part of that though. So what are the big considerations when someone's laying one of these out? So do they just show up and they say, "Hey, Aaron," or "Hey, Mr. Sales Rep at my dealership," or "Miss Sales Rep"? What's the do they show up with a blank piece of paper and say, "Hey, here's what I want," or how does it
a
start?
lot of it I think has to start before they even get here. To be honest with you, the biggest thing that they got to consider is their fire district. I mean, what are they operating in? I mean, from urban to rural. How much water do you need? How much hose do you have to carry? What size water pump do you need? There's a lot of decisions that go into building these pumper apparatus. Even choosing like EMS boxes. Where do we
Sure.
store our EMS gear? We put it in
Sure.
the cab? Do we put it in the body? Where does it go?
Yeah.
And there's whole different sizes that we offer too. I mean, it's not just one size fits all. So
No.
a lot of it's chose before they come here, and we
Yeah.
just show them the candy store once they get here. Really, I
Yeah.
mean,
So, I mean, are they like traditionally though, are they starting from like, hey, here's my previous build, here's what my neighbors have, here's what this is, like what framework are they typically building off
that
of?
all of the above. I mean, so they'll start. I mean, we get a lot of customers that say, "Hey, we've had a Pierce apparatus in the past. We want to, we ordered it 25 years ago. We want the same thing. It's just, it's just an updated model." Some of them are, yeah, we like what our neighbor has, so we're going to come in here and we want exactly what our neighbor has. It's really a multitude of things. It's not just one set thing on how they want to come in here and lay one out. It's and sometimes they start from scratch. Sometimes they want nothing to do with how their previous truck was and
Yeah.
how their neighbors' trucks are. They really just they want it to make it their own.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. When you talk about the starting from scratch and getting into all the different ones, I know you downplay what you do and say, yeah, it's just a pumper, nothing flashy. You come in and it's like, okay, you got mini pumpers, you got industrial, you have a pumper tanker or a tanker pumper, and
Hmm.
somehow that's different. I'm gonna bug you on that because I still don't fully understand
Yep.
it. But in those ones, like, what are those differences like between like a traditional pumper versus an industrial
Okay.
pumper?
We even hit on some like a mini pumper. Let's start with a mini pumper even.
Sure.
That's kind of the smallest chassis vehicle we offer as a pumper.
Okay.
Typically, you're looking at like that F550 chassis it's on. But, very maneuverable, very nimble, easy to get in small spaces, things like that. And then, you touched on a typical municipal pumper. That's really, I mean, I want to call it a cookie cutter style truck, but that's our bread and butter. I mean, you're talking a midship pump on it. Typically up here in Appleton, we're hitting on custom chassis. Florida's really heavy on our commercial chassis line down there. So you're going to see those. That's our rural and urban type of apparatus, just different size spec that way. And then our kind of industrial size pumpers, those are huge.
Yeah.
So we're talking 3,000 gallons a minute plus, up to 5,500 gallons a minute of water movement. So, and that's just from drafting too.
Yeah.
When you put that, we call it Zeus, that 2ZSM, up onto pressurized source, we're at 10,000 gallons a minute plus moving water through that industrial.
That's
It is
insane.
absolutely unbelievable when you see those trucks move water. And around here, it's kind of you really know what an industrial is going through, especially the enclosed top mount ones. Everybody on manufacturing calls them the Pope Mobile because
Sure.
they
Because of all the glass
they
on
are.
the
I'll
top.
say they are full of glass in the cab. The view is unbelievable through there. It's like a little command center you're running in.
And in those ones, they'll like fight fire for hours, days even.
Days, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. Our industrial apparatus crew down in Texas,
Yeah.
the Deer Park ITC fire they had a few years back, and they were there for 2 days plus, and those trucks never shut down. They
Yeah.
constant.
And I obviously like I have a bit of a dealer background, but is that the one where the dealers literally sent technicians just to make sure everything was up and running the entire time because it was just
Yeah,
continuous?
yeah. Our dealers support, like I said, sent technicians. Just it was a failsafe basically. In
Yeah.
case something were to happen, they were
Yeah.
there because that they could not stop pumping water. So but knock on wood, nothing
Yeah.
happened at that fire. So that was excellent.
That's
Yeah,
insane. And so yeah, just a traditional, nothing shiny, nothing, no bells and whistles pumper, huh?
yeah.
That's insane. 10,000 gallons.
It is unbelievable.
Man, that's wild. All right, on those ones too, so let's get into a couple more of those ones. You mentioned the mini
Mhm.
pumper, you mentioned the traditional, the industrial. What about like the pumper tanker?
Okay. So that pumper tanker, it's really, it's a combination, I want to say, of a water hauler and to do the duty of what a traditional pumper is. The reason why we call it a pumper tanker here is it still carries all the necessary components that a pumper is going to carry per like an NFPA, outline. It's got to carry certain equipment to meet that spec. But now you have the advantage also to carry large amount of water. So I know in our apartment, we actually run one as well, something of that setup. It's more for a rural type of response. And, you still have, you never know when that backup water is coming. So you have 2,500, 3,000 gallons of water to start with and really get you rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, you mentioned the pumper tanker.
Mhm.
What is the difference between a pumper tanker and a tanker pumper?
Honestly, that's an interesting question because in my mind they're all pumper tankers. But
Okay. Is
um,
this like a controversial
I
topic? Is
really
this like a
I
thing?
really think it is.
Like there's two sides of the fence. Like
Yeah.
you're either one or the
So I
other.
think from if you're gonna go that route, the tanker pumper. Really, when I go to that whole equipment, that NFPA thing, I think they're really identifying more on that mobile water supply side of things. So they don't got to carry all of the equipment that a traditional pumper does per NFPA. So their primary function is water hauling first, then a little bit of equipment versus equipment, then water hauling.
Okay. Well, if we're gonna get controversial, I'm just gonna get right into it.
Okay.
You use the term water hauler.
Yep.
And every time I hear that, I think of Dave McCallis explaining a water hauler and a tenda and a tanka and whatever that is. But the part of that then, talk to me through some of this terminology.
Okay.
So where are they? If I'm talking about what's the difference between a tender and a tanker?
Okay. So technically, it's supposed to be a tender. A tanker is something that flies in the air. So
Okay.
it is controversial because I don't even know what standard is or spec it is that says it's got to be a tender and not a tanker. But
You are on the hot
but-
seat because you are writing the
yeah,
rules right
I
now.
know, but it is quite interesting because even when I was growing up, you always refer to them as tankers. But
Sure.
then you get into this, like a Mabus style hierarchy of command, and it's a tender. A tanker is something that flies in the air. So
Yeah, and isn't it also like geographical?
I really,
Like some areas call it a tender, some call it a
I think
tanker.
so.
Like
I
yeah.
actually think so.
Well, like, what about okay, we call them pumpers. Well, some people call them an engine. So where's that? Like, is there like West Coast is engine, right?
I think that's all geographical too. It's where's your demographic and what do you want to call it? I mean, they're one and the same.
Okay,
So
it doesn't like hurt your feelings.
No.
Someone comes in and says, "Hey, you work on engines."
no, not at all.
You know that you're not actually physically
no.
working on like a combustion engine.
Correct. Yeah. I think
Okay.
really where you get that thing is the aerial side of things.
Yeah, the aerial side where
Oh,
it's true
truck.
truck.
Yeah.
It's you're on the
Yep.
truck company.
Yep. Don't call a
Yeah.
pumper a fire truck. No,
Right.
no.
No,
It's a fire
Absolutely not.
engine.
Yeah, not until it grows up and grows a ladder. On top.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
No, don't call it a truck.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so you mentioned too on this midship pump. Talk a little bit about the puck pump.
Okay, so we have our it's Pierce. It's a Pierce Ultimate Configuration is what puck stands for. It's not pump under cab, unfortunately. It's
yeah. So there's another controversial.
It is,
topic.
yeah. So it can go either way, but its true meaning is Pierce Ultimate Configuration.
Okay.
So actually,
you're not just saying that because marketing like overviews this
no,
podcast, right?
No.
Because if engineering overviewed this thing, it would probably be called pump under
Yeah,
cab.
that's very true. It would. That's truly what it is. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's where that pump sits. So
Yeah.
going from the midship application, we went to the puck. We really kind of took the market by storm with that product. We took the traditional second generation pump house. So typically you got a cab, a pump house, and a body. Well, now you just have a cab and a body. It's really different, and that pump sits low between the frame rails. We just did a upgrade project with it to the next generation puck or NGP. So we were really limited, up until a couple of years ago to 1,500 gallons a minute, and we really wanted to dabble into, that really hurts. I won't say hurts, but when you get to that aerial market, you want big water flow. So now our puck pump is actually able to flow up to 2,000 gallons a minute. So it's
and so you're saying the 2,000 gallons a minute, that's primarily for aerials?
yeah. I mean that
was the motivation behind
a big
it.
push for it. Yep.
Okay.
So you are seeing some other pumper side of things switch to that, but your typical pumper is looking at 1,500-ish gallons a minute. But you will get some bigger water movers that want that higher flow, but we really updated that, kind of targeted at that aerial side.
So when someone's coming in and they say, "Hey, Aaron, I know you're the pumper guy here at Pierce, and I'm trying to decide between this midship pump and this puck pump," what kind of questions are you asking for them so they can make that decision?
Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of rolling back to how you spec out your truck. Demographics. What do you want for like a wheelbase, turning radius? Obviously that midship pump is going to, extend the truck footprint longer. Now your wheelbase gets longer, your turning radius goes down.
Sure.
Things like that. It's there's a lot more that goes into it too. Single stage pump versus a 2-stage pump. The puck is a single stage, and then we get in the midships. You can offer up to a 2-stage or even a 3-stage pump. Those ultra high res, those ultra high pressure pumps. I mean, we ship those overseas. We tested over, UL listed, just shy of 1,400 feet that we can pump up with those three stage pumps. So asking questions like that. Another thing that leads into is compartment space. That pumper really that really opens up compartment space on those apparatus. You're looking at rescue depth panels on it. So when I say rescue depth, we're talking full depth panels. We're not talking shallow, anything like that. So do they want, more storage? That's huge for a lot of these departments, because what they have now, that's what they have. But in 20 years, they keep adding to these trucks. So they really want to be able to keep adding stuff on these. And the lifespan of them, we're talking 15, 20 years. So keep adding stuff over 15, 20 years, like your house. I mean, it just,
you run out of space.
So you keep running out of space. So you want to ensure that they really account for those years down the road.
Yeah. So on that, when you talk about storage and space, what about people that are storing those rescue tools, like on the HDRPs and things like that?
Yeah. So when you mention HDRPs, so that's really, we have a rescue pumper and we have a HDRP. That HDRP really just takes that rescue pumper, with those deep compartments, and actually beefs it up a little bit. Now we're looking, I think it's 800 pounds on the floor you can store with that HDRP. 800 pound per compartment. That's quite a bit of weight. So rescue tools, I've seen them. They're depending if they're going with a hydraulic type of tool, the electric style ones, or even hydraulic. There's ample storage opportunities we do with those. I mean, I've seen them from carousels. So it's like you think of your Lazy Susan in your house. They store them on the Lazy Susan. They can spin them around, pull them out, everything like that. We have custom fabricated brackets we do here. A couple of gentlemen out on the floor, departments brought their tools in, laid them on a tray, custom fab brackets for them. So it's an art when you want to mount those. Yeah. And it.
And how do you can honestly answer this from like the customer side, being an actual firefighter, or on your end, obviously on the technical side. How are you making those decisions when someone's saying, hey, I need it to have this truck last for 15 years or 20 years, and you're laying it out? And how do you do that?
That's a contentious subject, if I want to
Sure.
say that. So, like I said, when you're meeting with these customers on approval visits, things like that, they usually, some customers bring nothing with them. They have no idea what they're going to store. They're kind of just winging it. We need a couple shelves, couple trays. We'll figure it out. Then you get some customers that will bring dimensions of everything with them. They pre-sketch out layouts of their compartments. Sure. Some of them will bring pickup trucks worth of tools.
Yeah.
And we'll be laying them out on the blue floor, trying to configure these compartments. And so I've seen it from, like I said, absolutely bare minimum to we're bringing all the equipment with us.
Right. I mean, and that's all up at like that approval drawing phase, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's such an outstanding, that's a good example of people think that, hey, when you were designing a truck, that they talk about that iconic moment on the blue floor, and that's the time to really inspect the quality of your apparatus. What's crazy now, I mean, the approval visit is the time.
Oh my gosh.
That is like such a key time on when you get to make different decisions, and you actually have more impact on your truck at that point than once that metal's cut and those thousands and thousands of hands start working on it. But anyway, I just went off on
no, it's good. I mean, it's
preaching to you.
Like I say, you get a sheet of paper to start with, and you're all excited because you get your sheet of paper. This is my truck, and it's very nitty gritty. There's a lot of, like you just mentioned before, thousands of hands start touching this. There's a lot of work that goes into it on the front side.
What kind of pre-work do people do before they come in on that? Like, do they? Again, part of me, I'm asking because I know you've had to be on the end. And I'm sure that when Greenville's buying apparatus, they're going, "Hey, Aaron, help me out. Like, with how do I do these different kinds of things and be the ideal customer here going through it." So, like, when someone's preparing, what do they do before that, or the sales rep and all that?
As far as like from a spec standpoint of it, or are we talking like an equipment standpoint?
I guess both. I mean, like, what are they? They're obviously not walking in blind with no idea of what they want to do. What are they? Like, what are they doing ahead of that to do that? Like you said, like, how does the committee form? How does all that?
I mean, like I said, committee forming. That's a big thing. I mean, a lot of these, not only from my own experience, but I'm saying from your big cities to your small rural departments, each of them has a truck committee. I mean, that's what shows up here. So, they get the committees formed. And um, they need to determine, like I said, going back to what we said, they need to determine, hey, are we starting from scratch? Are we matching our neighboring, municipality? Are we matching our old truck? So they're really starting with that, and they start writing notes down, things like that, and call up our sales reps. Our sales rep put together this lovely bid spec, and that's where a lot of the pre-work goes into it. I mean, there's a lot of hashing details. I mean, from what chassis are we putting this on? What pumper body length are we using? What pump are we using? So they really hash that out all before they even come in here for their pre-approval visit, which entails like they get their drawings. I mean, all this stuff. I mean, going and laying tools out, like I said before they even get with their sales rep, they might say, "Hey, we built a cardboard box mock-up of our tools and equipment, and what are we putting in this thing?" And the sales rep might lead them to, "Hey, we need this size body to fit this stuff," or what size water tank are you going to use even? Like, so there's a lot of different steps before that even pre-approval visit you get here. It's
the part that's unique there, and I always I admire that about our dealers and the folks here at Pierce, is there's this assumption that the customer knows everything when they get here. And the reality of it is in many of these cases, they may procure one or two apparatus in their entire career coming through here. And that really puts both the sales rep and people like you in the position of like, hey, you are the expert here, and they need that guidance on, hey, how do we go through and lay these kinds of things out and make these kinds of decisions? No pressure.
Well, most definitely. Like you can only do so much beforehand.
Right.
And like I say, I keep referring to this as a candy store. I mean, like I say, one or two apparatus in your lifetime. So you might have one guy that's been here twice, so they kind of know the realm of what's going on. But yeah, they get here with their nice drawing on their D-size piece of paper and what a list is that's going to be in the thing. But when our sales reps, like, they're you can't praise them enough at the end of the day as far as what they deal with, because they come in here and that truck might change 50% from what it was booked. I mean, you let them loose to the candy store and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize that could be done, or that can be done, or this." So there's a lot of customization that go into
Well,
this.
and right now, in the current world too, where over time here, the committee could change.
Yeah.
And so you're going through that, and it's a different person that's going through and you're making those decisions. But anyway, I went on a total tangent there. Sorry. Let me get back to these fire trucks that we work on here. So you mentioned talking about like the HDRP, rescue pumpers, the equipment storage. Let's get into foam.
Okay.
So what are the decisions made when they say, "Hey, I want foam versus non-foam"?
Okay, so that really comes down to a departmental decision.
Okay.
Some people, you don't see a lot of switch of, "Hey, we've never run it before, let's start now." I mean, it's either, "Hey, we've never done it, so we're not going to do it," or "We always run it, so we're going to continue with it." So we have our Husky foam systems here at Pierce. So a lot of Pierce customers do use our Husky foam systems. We do offer other manufacturers' foam systems here as well. But like I said, it's really, I mean, it's really dependent on that department, and are they familiar with it? Because sometimes they might put it on there's that one or a couple cases that, "Hey, we're gonna put it on there," but in the life of the vehicle, we never turn the foam system on. We've run into that, but like I said, it really comes down to, are we going to use it? Do we know how to use it? Those types of things.
How about moving away from foam into the location of the pump? So what about top mount pump versus side mount pump? What are some of the decisions people are making there?
Okay. So that top mount, so you got that nice top mount walkway. So you got your cab, a nice walkway.
There's one literally
I was
behind
say
you
there's
on
one.
the blue.
I
I
was
can
say I
see
can
one
see one
right
right
over
back
your
there.
shoulder. Yeah.
So you have that nice cab. You have a nice walkway you're able to stand up on. So it really, and now you're up viewing the scene. You're getting out of traffic, all those things. So you kind of feel like you're king of the world, if you want to call it that. You're standing up high. You're kind of really, really overseeing that. But there's a disadvantage to that as well. That walkway typically, you're adding 19 inches for that walkway. 19, probably just over 20 inches, to be honest with you, for that walkway. So now wheelbase, wheelbase equals turning radius and maneuverability. So, we don't see top mounts as much as we used to. They kind of migrate more to that side control because everybody is worried about, that maneuverability. It's how do we drive these trucks? Everything gets tighter these days. Streets are narrower, more vehicles. So, but you're operating that truck on the side. Let's say you're on a highway or you're on a busy road or something like that. You do have, you now are putting that operator potentially in a line of traffic or, a hazardous situation. So it really, I mean, it's like I say, it's all speckable here when you come, but that's, kind of the whys and the hows of the differences between those.
When you talked about like the enclosed top mount, and obviously it seems like we see those either some are very, very
Yep.
cold or you see some of them
Very
very, very
hot.
hot, right? Where
Yes.
they need that kind of climate controlled environment.
Yep.
I'd heard top mounts also are benefits with the snow, like where the snow banks pile up. And so if you can get up close to it, you don't have to be on the side of the
Yep. That is
truck.
very true. Like I say, gets you within the apparatus profile. So, you are standing, within the footprint of it. Like I say, you mentioned, enclosed top mounts like we have. Uh, very, very cold. I mean, we see it up here in the northern climate. You could have very, very frigid days, and myself, I've been standing outside, and it's chilly. So now we're able to put our operators inside, and you have a nice heater, everything like that. It keeps your gauges unfroze. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to them. So, and then you get down south where it's hot, so the AC is awfully nice too when you're standing outside like that.
So I want to ask you about how we lay out pump panels and like what are the key considerations a customer does there. And I got to tell you, again, this might go on a tangent here. It blows my mind whenever I see a pump, like a midship pump, about to mount out in
Yep.
manufacturing. And all I can think of is how, the customer is specing
Hmm.
this and making these decisions. And then all of that plumbing that goes on behind it. And my mind immediately goes to like if I'm, fixing the sink at home and I have to make 7 trips to Home Depot to get the right, elbow of how this thing works. And then they lay all of this thing out based on how it's gonna be laid out on the
Yeah.
the panel side of it and all that work that goes on behind it.
Hmm.
So, and to within like what's the tolerance, like an eighth of an inch or
It's
something
not
of
very
where
much
that's
because you have that control rod that's got to come through a very small hole. So
yeah, it's
it is
insane.
it is very precise, and like I say, it's very craftsman based. And
Yeah.
so we offer our customers panel drawings that they can get. They lay it out and make it all nice, and it's all nice. But we have craftsmen that now got to plumb behind that panel.
Yeah.
Um, our
That's
our
so
panel
cool.
guys that have to hit every discharge where it's got to be, every linkage where it's got to be. It is it's a miracle at the end of the day. It is utterly impressive. Uh,
So wait, on the customer end though, what kind of decisions are they making when they're
okay.
saying, "Hey, I'm gonna lay this thing
Yeah.
out the way that I'm doing
Okay.
it?"
So I've seen um, a lot of them want simplistic layouts. So, if you have a front bumper discharge, you come to your speed lays or cross lays, your rear discharges, they want their control handles laid out in a way that is, hey, I want them front to back of the truck. I don't want to have the back discharge on the left side and the front discharge on the right side of the panel. I want it laid out so it's very ergonomic. I know, roughly on that panel where I'm going to be pulling a discharge lever, something like that. Um, and coming back to your foam question too, uh, we lay those out in an orderly fashion. So if we have foam on these trucks, we have at Pierce what's called control zone. That's really a game changer when it comes to laying out these panels as far as keeping them neat and nice. But when we have foam versus not, foam and clear water on the truck, we try to keep all those foam discharges together too. So all of a sudden you're not pulling a foam discharge when you don't want one, or vice versa. Um, so that's a big thing. I mean, keeping these panels neat, especially this day and age, people don't want discharges everywhere. They want them in an orderly fashion.
Sure. And as technology changes, you know, year over year, and these people and these customers are making decisions decades later since their last
Yep.
purchase or last time they're doing that. I mean, the standardization and training has to be such a consideration also that they're going to jump on this and be able
Yeah.
to cope with that and like be able to quickly,
Yep.
learn how to use their new apparatus.
Most definitely. You're seeing a lot of as well. Going back to how we spec these trucks out. Are we mimicking a department we work with? Are we mimicking an old truck? Well, if you're mimicking an old truck, you want to lay it out as close as you can, or even one in your fleet. You don't want a one pump panel that's completely backwards from the other one. And, we have the customers that are sharing, driver might be at station A one day and station B the next day. They got to be able to pick up on these, relatively quick. You don't want
Yeah.
anything out of
Yeah.
this world.
Yeah. That's awesome. So tell me about some standout deliveries you've been a part of. I want to hear about like just some specific trucks that you're like, though that's one of the ones.
Okay.
Because you've run industrial.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
you've
I'll
done a
say
little bit of everything.
I did industrials for a long time. In my previous role here, so I'd say one of the most standout deliveries is working with Alan Husebush before he passed away. It was actually job number 34608. I don't know how I remember that job specifically, but one of the first single axle Zeus trucks we built, and just some of the phone calls having with Alan. I mean, that was, like I said, one of the first ones we built like that, and one of the first ones he sold like that as well. And getting the truck to pass weights, I mean, you name it, and then seeing the customers when they got here, they're like, "You packaged this on a single axle and everything like that." That was pretty awesome. I mean, it was, and Big Al. I mean, that was.
I can like in my head see Al smiling. You know, just
Yep.
Al smiling down.
Oh yeah, no, that was, and working with him. Like I say, you know, he passed away, but that was. All those industrials were standout trucks.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, and then when he got to work with him. But like I said, 34608. For some reason, I remember that job number. It was just.
What was the customer
Oh my
name?
gosh, I think that was a Dow Chemical. Dow Chemical, I do believe. Nope, that was not Dow Chemical. I'd have to get back to you on that one. I can't remember.
I got a funny feeling that at this point on the video feed, they're gonna have like a picture scrolling of that.
No, that would be.
It is.
That was a good one. Any other standout ones beyond that? Holy cow, I've done so many pickups that is just. They're all neat in their own way, though. I mean, they're all neat, special. They each carry a story. So that's. I had one actually. It was an East Coast customer. Sitting on the blue floor. These trucks are in pristine condition, polished up, shiny, everything like that. The chief took out his car keys from his pocket, purposely put a scratch in the back of the truck, and said, "Don't gotta worry about scratching anymore, boys. I did the first one."
You're kidding me.
That is no kidding at all.
That is like full flex.
He took out his car keys, and we didn't fix it. That was.
He told you, he said, "Don't fix it."
Don't fix it. That was purposeful. He said, "You don't gotta worry about putting the first scratch in it."
Oh,
so
like uncomfortable.
I know that was. Like, I watched it and I was just like, "What just happened?"
Oh
but
my gosh.
no, so like I said, they each carry a story, a memory, something like that. But no, they're all very nice.
That's wild. So okay, let's say this. Let's say you have budget is not an issue, committee is not an issue.
Yep.
You're designing the ultimate pumper for Greenville Fire Department that protects the Meyer family.
Okay. Yeah.
What are you designing?
Okay. I'm gonna go with one of our new HDRPs with a integrated speedlay pump house.
Okay.
On a velocity cab.
That's the jam.
That is. So we're talking big compartment space, short pump house, and the Cadillac cabs. That is the way we're gonna go.
That's awesome. Well, and selfishly on the Meyer family side, I hope we only see it in parades and it's never at our house.
Yes, definitely.
And we'll see it at the summer send off here in Greenville.
Yep.
But seriously, Aaron, appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you very much.
And coming and jumping on here. I think something tells me you're going to be a regular guest that we're going to be bugging to ask about this. So thanks everybody for listening, for joining us on episode 3 here of the Dispatch. Hope everyone stays safe.
Thank you very much.